disparities, and all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Michael German.
Yeah, thank you. But more so, I'm honored, and I thank God that I'm here with you all. Brothers, my sister, we all got stories. I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. So in this, when things were happening there, I'm just giving some background. So my mother was a maid. My dad worked on the track, military, veteran, everything. My father, if you want to find a guy who had papers, subscriptions, everything, it was my dad. My mother was a maid, but she also took me to everything that happened with the boys, with the bus boycott. She would take me with her. My sister was the oldest, they're 10, 11, and 12 years older, but she took me to those churches. You can see those gritty movies, pictures and everything, and she would take me there. So I was engrossed and put together in that. So another part of everything that happens in Montgomery, when you look at the civil rights and you look at the Selma to Montgomery March, when you go to Montgomery and it stops, it's St. Jude Institution. That was my school. And all the folks that you saw taking those pictures and those entertainers, we were all part of that. And we marched from there to the Capitol. So civil rights is something that was always there. And all during the life of my mother, she was in her 80s. She was still doing the voting, so just getting everybody to make sure they vote. And she was there picking the tickets and the ballots and everything. So all of that goes into where I come. So the bigger part of my life, I'm a teenager like all of you. And I walked up this and I put my hand up on the moon and I said, where am I going to be? I've been on every continent except Antarctica. But it was always something that came back from where I'm from. I know where I am and I know who I am. And everything happens as blessings and God. So I'm going to make you laugh about this. The last day, so the parochial school, St. Jude, if you ever look at that, you're going to see it. Because like I said, everybody that came in, Belafonte, Portier, all the folks that came, that's where we were all there, and it was dark and everything. And I happened to be in Spain. And that's the first time I met Harry Belafonte. The next thing I said is in Montgomery on the 50th anniversary. And we spent the whole day talking about everything. So all of that circle, but just going about for growing up in life. I never know or known where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do. Always had in my mind. So my mother, this is the last thing. I really wasn't the best student you're going to see, but I knew I was smart, but I was not the best student. So at the last moment, it's like, where am I going to college? And it was Alabama State University. So got in, I had a good background, understood things, but I didn't put in the effort in it. Like a lot of brothers and sisters. But there was somebody in there my second year who saw my potential and they gave me responsibilities. So the last thing that happened in my sophomore year, I got a 2.4. And then all of a sudden, with the responsibilities they put on me, I had a 3.4 when I graduated. I was eligible and I got into Harvard. So they called and asked me, am I coming? I said, I don't have any money. But I got a story with that too. But I got into Northwestern, I got into Missouri and South Carolina. So the thing that happened, I get a job with the guys were buffing tables. We all got fired. Yeah, because the guys were still the tips. So out of this, I go to the next job. I did an interview with WSFN TV, and they put me in sports. So the last thing now, colleges and government, they all are doing media and everything. So they offered me I'm there with the Heisman trophies. Brother Lucas from the Braves came in, and so I came in and I just knew everything. So I got recruited by what became with FEMA. So I couldn't go, with minimum wage, I could not go on TV. So I took the job, and it took me to Battle Creek, Michigan. I mean, how many of y'all know what Battle Creek, Michigan is? But Wisconsin was my state. And this is with the state civil defense. This is before they merged together. And they requested that I come over to help them to develop their plans. So now I got a place in Milwaukee, and I got a place in Battle Creek, Michigan, because they're paying me for both, and I'm making money. So to get that, what happens was, and this is, how many of you all believe in angels? Thank you, thank you. Because that voice always talked to me, and where I'm going to go. So there was an opening in Atlanta. I did. They took me and gave me the position. I'm driving 85, 75 on a Friday night, trying to find where I'm going to live. And I found myself in that car, and I said a prayer. I said, Lord, I don't want to live in an apartment. So I get 30 days in a hotel. So I go back into the job, and there was the only Black person there. And this young lady was answering phones and everything. But it turns out her husband was in finance. And so she told me she had a friend who wanted to lease her apartment. I went over to Camelot. Y'all remember Camelot? I came over to Camelot, and I looked at it, and I said, I don't want another apartment. And the person who was selling the house, I don't know if anybody knows Myrna Anderson. You should know Myrna because she was over. So she was over the flight attendants for Eastern Airlines. And so she said, let's go and look at her house. I went over there, she's got 3 bedrooms, she's got a ranch, she's got everything. And the agent said, why don't you all move in together? And that's the first prayer I asked. And we came together. In less than a year, she got promoted in Miami. So now I got this house and I'm a bachelor. And I meet the best guy I ever met in my life as a friend named Keith Tennyson. So he came from New York, and he wanted to be an architect. And I was talking about the work that he did. And he did Cisco's. I mean, y'all know Cisco's. Yes. But he was the designer of it. And so I meet him, he comes back to my place and he knocks on my door. I just met this guy. And he said, I need a place to live. So now we got a place for wayward men. So we were bachelors. But the thing was, it was prayers and how God has put me on a trajectory in everything I did. So I started doing disaster recoveries with FEMA. So I ended up in places like Hawaii, I'm in Kentucky, I'm in floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever. You start making money, because everything is paid for you. And my rent with Myrna was $245 a month. And I had somebody splitting. So we started buying property and everything. But I'm only talking about this, about those angels around you. And I've always had openings for me. And so finally, I was in Washington. They flew me to Seattle for an interview. I went there, I interviewed for an opening there. And Beverly's, my wife was here, we were married then. And they offered me the job, and I said, I'll take it. And she was happy to do it. So I'm downtown at City Hall. I ran into John Lewis, and I've known John. I said, John, I'm moving to Seattle. And he said, you shouldn't do that. He said, because I'm going to run for Congress. So I did take the job. We won. I became his district manager. I'm telling you, boy, it just rose. But the thing I learned that's probably the most important things that gave me opportunities and gave me who I am. And in Montgomery, you know, there's always, and you all know, when you go in places, you speak to everybody you know, right? That's a gift. Because so many things I've happened because I've been in rooms with people and I went and spoke to them. Because you never know when you're going to get success. So I took myself out of that, worked with John, we won, I became his district director. And so when John left, I was engaged in everything. So I participated with the lawyers, doctors, preachers, services for everybody we got. And I get another call, and that was from the Atlanta Housing Authority with Renee Glover. She called and offered me a job. I want you to come to work for me. After that, I get a call from Maynard Jackson. He said, Brother German, he said, I want to start a new office. I want you to come and work for me. So all of this to me, this is how God works. It's nothing I've done. It's the doors that were open. And all of this. But remember this too. So in the Y2K, I came to another company. And so we're raising things and getting contracts and everything. I get a call from Emory, and he said, this is this opening. He said, it's the job. It looks just like you. And it was a program for HUD, Housing Urban Development. And I looked at it, the last day of the event. I didn't even have a computer at home, you know, because you got everything in the office. And I had to go into the office of HUD to find out about some of the things that were happening, how this is going to work. And the guy, David Jones, and this guy used to be at City Hall, David Gibson, sorry. And I'm interviewing, I'm talking to him. And so they typed my resume and they faxed it before 5 o'clock. So I went back to my work and everything. They asked me to go to Birmingham for an interview. And I said, okay, I went to Birmingham, I didn't get the job, but I got a big deal coming up with the Y2K. So all of this happens, and then I get another call later on from Washington. And he said, I'm gonna offer you a job. He said, I'm sorry. I said, I got a deal. And he said, what will it take to get you? Never in my life anybody's ever said to me, what will it take to get you? So they gave me the highest position that I could have. And I'll tell you a couple of things too about with John. So you see this, the Sandman building, the federal building, and then y'all in trouble, so you're okay. But it's there, you'll see it, the Sandman building. I get a call, this is a John Lewis, okay, I have to let you know this. So I get a call from the Corps of Engineers, and I got it from GSA, General Service Administration. They said, we want to start a new office there. And so it's whatever, they're asking me to do it. And so we ended up that building because John Lewis, I came with John, I came with them, and that building is there. So I don't know, because I don't want to overtalk myself, but I'm telling you about these angels that are around me. Yeah, because they tell me what to do. And I've seen people get hurt, I've seen people killed, I've been in violence, I've never done any, but the voice said, leave. And I'm going back now when Martin Luther King died, and we were in my 8th grade, our play, and I came out with these guys, and they decided we're going to burn a building. Yes, we did. Oh yeah, I mean, we had gas throwing it up at buildings. It didn't happen. When I left the guys, that voice told me to leave. And the guys that I was with, they turned and they burnt the building. They went to jail. But I wasn't there. So I've always had those things about where you go and how God is going to use me. Yeah, yeah. So going back now to now, HUD calls me. I get to go to HUD to, excuse me, to Harvard. I mean, and I didn't have to pay. But the best thing that happened to me was I met Beverly, my wife. Yes. At Cisco's. At Cisco's. Yeah, she is a journalist, a Peabody Award winner, and the mother of my 2 kids. But yeah, definitely. So all this travel that I've been doing, the whole bit, but she maintained our house. And so things kept coming to me. And so now coming back into this, there's openings. Remember, because I went to Birmingham and they interviewed me and they didn't. So in HUD, there was an opening, and the person that did was on people that are homeless. And the person who was there, who was a little lady from Jacksonville, she knew about these programs with HUD, but what she didn't know, how to work with people. And so she came and talked to me and she said, I just got a call. And the people in Washington said, if she wants to find another job, they won't stand in her way. No, y'all are better than that, because I burst out laughing. I said, geez. So I watched that. I told her she's going to save her job, the whole bit. I get a call from the regional administrator. This is the Bush administration. And he comes to me and he said, Michael said, this job is important. He said, we got to fill it. He said, you would be great. I said, no, because they just fired here. I went to church, Cascade United Methodist, and then Walter Kimbrough was there. And I'm out there in the vestibule. And Walter said, God is speaking to you. He wants you to step out of your place of comfort and don't be scared. I'll take care of you. I went back. I took the position. I had no idea what they do. They flew me after the holidays. They flew me to San Francisco, and all these folks that knew the program, these regional offices. And I sat there listening to them. They knew HUD programs, but I knew people. I know how you work with people, you know, the things that you do in life. And I also had backgrounds on other agencies of business and everything. And it turns out the first thing they wanted to do was to go to Boston for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So I'm still trying to figure this out. But the person who was appointed by the president, this guy name was Philip Magano. Thank you, Philip Magano. So Philip's, his mother was 93 years old, and she was the clerk in Boston. His brother had 4 degrees, all from MIT, including PhD. His sister was the president of Gannett News, USA Today. So this guy did not suffer fools, but I had an idea of what to do. The first thing we went to Boston, I had no staff. I recruited interns. You know, that goes back from John Lewis. I could bring in people, and now I have a staff. I had a list of all the mayors in the Southeast. And I said to this young lady, I said, I'm calling the place at the hotel. And I said, I don't want to, have an office or anything. I just want a location. And I told the young lady, I said, I want you to call them and tell them that I'm the new director and he wants to meet you and he can help you. I had 24 mayors every 20 minutes. It's marketing. And those guys, when I would go there, I met them and I said, Mayor, my name is Michael German. I said, I know you have a problem with homelessness. And I said, and I can help you. And they started calling me and arranging this. And before all those people in the room, in 8 months, they were all reporting to me. So there's an award you have, and it's the Service to America Medals. This is something I never heard of. And the people they made a recommendation. So every year they were doing this, the top when you're in federal service, and they put me on there. And so out of this, the person, just to give you an idea, one of the persons, when you had the veterans and they were suicides and everything with the veterans, she was in there, people were there from international, all the agencies, FBI and everything. And I'm right there with them as the award winners. And it's just not about what you didn't want to do. And it was a game change and all the people you saved. So we ended up in this 10-year time that I had, we put 50,000 homeless people from service. We helped them to find houses. And we basically, that is what we did.
I did say to you all that we have an icon here today. The history that he's providing us, invaluable. Michael, as you're talking with us today and sharing your life stories with us, what are some of the things that parents and teachers and communities, what are some of the things we can do today to keep stories like yours alive? Because you have been a remarkable person throughout your career. Chime in on that, please.
Well, because we've got media now. Everybody's got a message. If you Google somebody, you're going to find their service. You can Google me and maybe do it with anybody, because that's what it is, how you touch people now. And you look at the needs and everything. So everything is changing right now in politics. So if I don't mind switching this right now, let's be real. It's changing now. I've worked in administrations, I've worked in business leaders and everything. Even my business people that when we just in Alabama, they flew in to see Trump. I'll just leave it at that. But things happen. So the message is the stories have to be told. That's what we do now. And also, I think the best thing to do in your life is not to be about you. It's about the people you serve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael, that was an absolutely great segue into my next question. You said that it's not about us only. We have so many stories within our communities, and I'm remembering one right now. I was 12 years old when I skipped school and marched with Martin Luther King and the crew when they came through rural Mississippi. I'm not apologetic for that. What do you see with the climate today? What do you see as something that we need to do to get our attention?
I think all of you know the reason what's happening. The politics. Every time, you look at, let me give you a storyline. This goes back in the 70s. I'm at home. I've got a listing of things that happened. And one of the things that came in that stuck with me was when fathers are moving out of families. So this was in like 78. Yeah. And now you're looking at where you've got 50-50 if we're lucky. And there's another storyline about this. When we were in Africa and we were started looking at elephants, and elephants were culling. They were wondering why, who was killing other animals. And the reason what happened, they were killing male elephants because nobody was teaching them how to be elephants. Yeah. And that's what we've been missing. What we were supposed to do. And, mothers are there by themselves. They got a lot of pressure on them. And the guys, and when's the last time you've been in prison? Yeah. So when I was working at that TV station, I went to Kilby Prison in Montgomery. And they told me so it's about sports. And they let me in. And it turns out that the guy on my street, they mentioned a name, is the guy who grew up on my street. And this guy was recruited by Nebraska, a black quarterback. He would go in and out of prison. You see that. If you don't have somebody that gives you guidance, women can't be men. This is a two-story story you got to have. Yeah. And we have to really marvel women for what they do. But when somebody said to me about good men, I said, all I know are good men. I could be proud to say that. That's all I know are good men. Yeah, and those kids.
And Michael, one of the first things you said to me when we spoke the other day, you called out one of those good men, and he's here with us today, George Shealy. George, thank you so much for the photos of this fine icon here as well. Earlier, Michael, you said something that was very appealing. You said, I know who I am. And as I work in the community, talking with different leaders, that is the one thing that I would stand up and give an applause for every time. Mainly because, unfortunately, and we're talking Black history here, many of our Black men do not know who they are. There have been so many changes throughout their lifespan that today they just don't know who they are. And I also thank you for recognizing the works of the women. Now let's go back to the 70s. In the 70s, if you remember, the march that happened was crack cocaine marching into our communities. And it was brought there intentionally. Some of the systemic racism was one of the causes of that. But now we're here. We're here at 2025, and we know that we are faced with many challenges, but we're not afraid of challenges. We have the Black Men Lab who meet here every Monday at 2800 Campbellton Road, and we're discussing issues that are affecting and having a great impact on our families, on our communities, and on our Black men. I would like for you, our audience, to please, if you have questions or comments, we're having a Black History discussion, and we would like for this to be very engaging. We've got people on the Zoom, and it looks like we've got lots of dots out there today. Thanks to our Zoom listeners for joining in today, and thanks to each of you for being here as well. Anybody with a comment or a question? Charles, I see you out there, and George, I see you. Charles he has the look on his face that he's really ready to go. So Charles, come up and get the mic. And from there, if you will pass it along to George, and then I saw Brandy's hand. Charles Moon is the chair of the Mary Parker Foundation, and he's also a leader at one of the 5 branches, and you can tell them about that.
So I apologize for being so informal. I was coming from another event, but Mr. Jeremy, first of all, thank you, right? I think that there is always power in people's testimony, right? And no, I wasn't alive in the 70s, I'll be honest, right? I can't speak to that firsthand, but I think it's equally as important for people of my generation and the generations that follow me to not lose sight of what that history looks like. And so being able to tell your story, being around the right people, because that mass exodus of the father hit a generation like mine, where we didn't have that story to be passed down, to say, this is what it looks like to be a Black man. And so that being said, thank you for sharing that part of your journey and all the great things that you've done, with HUD. I mean, obviously, the climate has changed considerably, right? We can talk about the emergency of the moment. My question for you is, what advice would you give to those community leaders who see all of the same things that we see, but don't really know how they individually can help impact or help mediate some of these things we know that are coming down the pipeline? I'll give a reference to that. It is Black History Month. And I happen to believe that, yes, it is so important for us to not erase our own history, but it's also important for us to know their history as well, because there's a whole different side of that was running adjacent to some of that Black history that was happening. And so what my question is, given the fact that you can give us that scope of what has happened in the past and what you see now, what advice would you give to those young community leaders who are out there trying to figure out, how do I navigate through this new environment where there's so much uncertainty?
Great question.
First thing I said was cool. And I tell you, I see this with you look at a guy like me, I don't look like I'm as old as I am, but I am definitely with a list of young guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, because it's for them now. It's your role, everything. And so I try not to get in the way, but I'm also available when they come and talk to me about what are we doing, how we're doing it. I give them the experience. But these kids, these guys, when I say the kids, I mean, they're brilliant. They're smart. I mean, they're honorable. That's the first thing I go when I meet somebody. Are you honorable? Yes, don't tell a lie. Don't steal. The voice tells you when you have to think about something. Let me tell you who said this. Shirley Franklin. I was riding in the car one day coming to work, and somebody called and they said, Mayor, they said, people are always calling you, how do you handle it? And she said, if I had to think about it, I shouldn't do it. I have adopted that. Yeah, because that voice tells you what to do. But there are great young men, great men, mature men. They're out there. But we are not, well, no, I'm gonna say nothing. That's what the 100 is. I mean, it could be Boy Scouts, they could be anything. They're doing it, but they're overwhelmed with the numbers. It's what you get the media. I mean, it's indoctrination that they're getting. They're taking away our humility, our intelligence and everything. Everybody's got to, make money, but how are they going to make money? Yeah, you got to be respected. And I've learned this, and I'll be real quiet about this. My success is not making it about me. That's why when I got people that are talking to me, I always do that. It's not about me. How are we going to do it? So I think you're on the part. You need to go out and radiate with what you do. You're the beacon. They're going to see you. You don't need me. It's you. It's your turn. And you take it and you keep giving it to it. Those kids in school, they're waiting on us to do what we're supposed to do. My brother, you are the guy they're waiting on.
You just received your orders. And we are here to ensure that you have everything you need in support of that. You can count on us. Thank you, Charles. We can always count on you as well.
Mrs. Seeley, you're up.
I just wanted him to talk about another major accomplishment, and that's one of the reasons why we became friends. And it's his founding role in the 100 Black Men of DeKalb County, and how he started that, and well, he just told me this week that he's retiring. This is last year with us, but he's been very instrumental in not only founding the organization, but helping young men like me to passing on the torch. Like he said, he believes in us and he gets out the way, but he still makes himself available whenever you have any questions. You know, he can stop. Whenever I call, he stop. He answer. If you don't answer, he call me right back. And one of the things I'm amazed about is all the things that he's done, and he's still very, very humble. You know, and that's one thing that highlights our challenges. But he do everything with humility, and that's one of the things I admire about him.
Thank you, George. Well, I can just say this to the point. I know my calling. I mean, it's clear to me. And I said, and I say it truthfully, I don't let it be about me, because I know I'm going to be successful. If I don't, let it be about me, because that's what brothers are about. That's what mothers, sisters, and women, and kids, even kids. I even go talk to kids, and because I can see an aura around them, and they're with their parents or somebody. You can see that there's something special about them, and you have to ingrain that into them, and not let it pass about it. And so the one thing I do is I don't want attention. I've had enough things happen, but knowing that God has me, and I'm on the end of my road coming up, I know it. So I'm thankful to God. I'm blessed by God. Something I have, I'm going to make you laugh about this. So in the last, I retired and I went into business officially, and that was 5 years ago. In that period, we have had a grandchild every year. It is the most fun you can have. But I'm doing a video, and somebody came and talked to me about it. But the video is, I'm doing it for my grandkids. I'm going to be gone. It's like Jor-El and Superman. He goes in the capsules and he pulls them out. That's what I'm going to do. When they got questions, there's things about it. I've got pictures of them, and I have shadows. I have them framed on it. So when I'm going, they're going to see my shadow. Yeah. But I don't know. I just am so thankful. I could break into tears. God has been good. Yeah.
Michael, will you share with us a little bit about the Leadership Academy, that program that you brought into the 100?
So going back, when I was in Leadership Atlanta, that was in the 92, 91, it was 91. And that experience, because people that were in that group, and I got to know them and everything. And Ship Academy came up because I said, what will happen to experience I just had for kids, for students? And that's how we did it. And we started, we had an orientation group because we had two groups. And there's a guy named William Brown, who was a commissioner in DeKalb County. He had a group, I had a group. And so the easiest thing to do was to merge together. Yeah, we're not competing against each other. And I selected Bill as like senior, and I let him be the first president. But it also gave me the time to go ahead and work and prepare what we're doing. And the experience that we did from Leadership Atlanta on those those members that were part of my group, I got them to come over and work for me.
I just want to warn you, I'm the class of 8, and that was the best class ever. Okay, that was great. Any questions? Any more questions? What class were you in, Mother? She was one of the first classes, Michael.
Yeah.
Brandy, you have a question?
I know in between, we're talking about value and learning work. I know you said in between with your office with Hood and with Washington, they asked you, what does it take to get you? How do you even,
Just one moment.
So I was just asking about value, knowing your worth. I know in between your offers of HUD and Washington, you mentioned that they wanted you and you didn't really want to go there. But they said, what does it take to get you? And sometimes it's very hard to put that that value on yourself because it can be very high. I want to know, what was your answer and what is some of the questions that we can have for ourselves to get prepared for that moment?
Question. Thank you, Brandy. This was, unfortunately, we only have one mic today, so excuse us for the technical delays.
Right, I don't know if I have every answer. Yeah, but the big part of it is in you. Let me tell you the gift again. Speak to people. Because you never know who you're going to meet. That's the one thing that grew up in me. And I'll put this in a storyline to you. On my street, there was a little grocery store. I had to go and speak to everybody on those porches, a little lady mostly, and come back. And I had to go back to do something. And I said, all right, I already spoke to you. And I came back and my mother said, Michael did speak to me. Yes. So, when you do with business, when you do with life, you do with whatever, when you need something and you have not acknowledged those persons before, and then all of a sudden you come up, you wish you had. So don't give them a reason to do anything, but be a part of you and be genuine. And that's what I tell you, I spend a lot of time of praying because I've been blessed. I am. And every time I do something, it turns out to be successful. I'm telling you the truth. I try to do it by myself, it's a struggle. Yeah. And keep talking to your children, because engaging with people, but you got to know who you are and what you're doing. Even if people are criminals or whatever, you got to go and you navigating, you got to recognize, but you know who you are. Yeah. I don't know if that's your answer, but I hope it does.
We do have some questions from call-in. We're gonna take those now. And Ms. Rose has a question. And, but if you'll give us the questions from chat.
Okay, so Gordon said, what can HBCU students do in response to recent challenges?
Well, I'm on the board of Alabama State University. I'm proud to tell you that. I'm on the board of the University of Alabama, the College of Real Estate. I'm on the Emory Hospital Board. I'm on a lot of things like that. But what I love the most is HBCU. I do. Because we know where we come from. Yeah, and remember I told you, I'm the guy that had a 2.4. It was people that took me there and made me have responsibilities. I became the president of my fraternity, and this is the part to tell you something too, not staying away from HBCUs. So I wanted to do a new stone. And I was able to get everybody to galvanize and come together. And now the people that I meet, they're like younger than me on the boards and everything. I am so happy to see them. They're as good as going to Harvard, or going anywhere. My Howard girlfriend, you know. So yeah, HBCUs, it's for us, it's for everybody. Yeah, and people care about you. And one of my internships is now in Payne College. I got another one who's on TV, who was one of our guys. I got to think of his name again, but he's on NBC. But it was my intern. But I would bring them all together, you know, because they were basically AUC students, and then we had Georgia State. But I'd have meetings with them, just like we have in this part. John's gone and everything. But I talk to them and tell them what they're going to do with the internships, and they're successful. So we have to support each other. Yeah.
In other words, what he's saying is intentionality. We have to do things on purpose. It's not how many lives we impact, as long as we are impacting lives. And this is absolutely the season to do just that. We have lots of work to do, don't we, Michael? And I want to offer Junction 2800 as a place that our doors are open. We'll be having these conversations. This is not of the Mary Parker Foundation. This is to tell you that we have a convening place. For those of you who are interested, leave your names. Michael will be facilitating some of those conversations. Herman will be facilitating some of those conversations. Denise will be facilitating some of those conversations. So stay tuned. March will be our marching orders. Okay. A couple more questions, Michael. I know our time is getting short here, but for parting words, your last parting words, what would they be to our young people first? And then secondly, to those of us who are in the third quarter of our lives, what was some of the advice you would give us to give to our children to bridge this gap? And you have alluded to it all along. You know that to whom much is given, much, and I like to add the word more, much more is required. Much more is required of us within our own communities than what we're giving back. Brothers and sisters, we must close that gap. And we're depending on those of you who are here today to help us get the word out. We're here. We are resurrected, and we shall live and not die. I'm going to turn this back over to you because my blood's getting a little warm here. And my pastor is in the room, and he knows that I will get up and preach in a minute. Anyway, just for that, if you would just give us a few parting words for our young people specifically. And again, the intentionality from those of us who God has truly, truly blessed and wanting to impart that into them.
Well, this is going to be quick and to the point. I plan for the future, but I live in the now. Yeah, that's how I live every day. I have got, yes, because I know where I want, I don't know where I'm going to be, but I know right now I'm here. And I'm thankful and I try to live with God's help. And I can tell you, I was joking, it seems like, but every now and then there's a conscience, there's a voice, and you know where you come from, and you know what you do. And that's why I speak to people, because I've been blessed. And you can look at people, and and sometimes you have to go over and say hello, because they need attention, they need recognition, they need to know that they are important. And the other part of it is just who we are. We care about you. We do. And I can say this again, how much my wife. Yeah, she has so much. And, I recall, I never will forget, I'm sitting at the table, and my son is an adult, and he kisses me on the forehead. That's a man who knows that he's with a man. Yeah. And when my daughter, she calls me, but I have two adults that ask, would I be their father? And they're successful, educated, yeah. But there's not but. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I'm closer to the end than the beginning. I can say that. It's not bad. But when I go, at least those little kids, well, make me. I'm going to be telling them what to do, knowing that they're loved. Where's Pop? What to do it, and why it's important. So that's pretty much sounds like you can break out a little laughing about it. But everybody writes some stuff now, but nobody's reading. No. So you're telling them, and I've got for each of them there will be, but for two of them right now, I have the shadows, because the shadow has me with them, and it's on. And in our stairwell, their pictures are there. So won't be here all the time, but I'm going to be thankful.
What an amazing legacy. Let's give Michael another round of applause. Michael, thank you so very much for being here. And Beverly, I have a message for you. The word of God says, the man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And usually they stop there. But Michael, you have shown us in every example today that you've had favor with God. And the word concludes, and favor with God. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we appreciate all the things you've done. But it doesn't end here. We could sit and talk the rest of today. He's got a project going on right now in Alabama where he brought together Black men and women business owners to do a project of $114 million. Thank you so much. So this brother is still doing it, and he did tell you about the boards that he's serving on. Today, so we have a little work to do. We're going to massage him a little more and see if he can get him over here on the Mary Parker Foundation board. Thank you so much, my friend. I just want to leave you with a few things. Next month, we already have our topic. It's Women's History Month next month. We're going to do a history something month every month. Next month, we're going to celebrate women. We celebrated women today too, didn't we? But we're intentional. Next month is Women's History Month. Our first out the door will be women in banking. one or some of them will receive recognition as being the chick in charge. So be ready. That too will be on the 25th of March. And we look forward to each of you being back here with us, and also bring someone with you. This is our community, this is our organization, and we want the world to know about us. We're doing great works here. We are going to join in with the 100 this summer. The program I with you, Transform Youth, 2000 Youth, that's going to be part of your program as well. We want your leadership students to come through the program. I'll tell you more about it offline. Brothers and sisters, thank you for being here. I love you, and just stay tuned because we've got more to come. Here at the Mary Parker Foundation, we meet the fourth or the last Tuesday every month, discussing conversations that have impact on our communities. So thanks again. God bless you. We'll see you soon.